like headpiece, I'm in. Let's do it.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, so you guys are part of an organization that is a mouthful to say, and so you have a nice acronym, NACLIQ. But
Yeah,
do you
that's
mind?
my fault.
It's your fault?
Yeah.
Well, no, I think it's very informative, though. So do you mind giving the full title of the organization?
Sure. Yes. NACLIQ stands for North American Coalition of Lighting Industry Queers.
And so, based on that, I hope people can assume what it's for. But if they haven't gotten the clue, maybe you can.
Funny
give a
that
little
we
bit of
get
insight.
questions
Yes.
about this often.
Yeah, fairly self-explanatory at its most base, but we are an advocacy and support organization for queer people in the lighting industry.
And we should note that North America is not meant to be exclusive. We're
No.
actually thinking about dropping it because we've had so many people from other places that are not considered North America asking how to
Yeah.
get involved. And I think the
Awesome.
first thing we're having to do is name it CLIQ.
Yeah.
CLIQ.
Honestly,
Done.
the biggest hurdle is redesigning all the graphics.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I like I've got the pin here, and I like all the letters circling around. But yeah, I mean, it does become exclusionary.
Well, that would be the vintage edition, you know?
Yes. But I mean, so how long has this been in existence?
5 years.
Wow.
Coming up on 5 years.
Hey,
August.
anniversary.
I know. Yeah, August. It'll be 5 years.
And how many members do you have so far?
We have, 600 or so on the mailing list.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a member organization.
Right.
We don't have dues. We have a mailing list and we show up places. And then we have chapters in different places that have been sort of arising as people find themselves there. So when people ask what we do at NACLIQ, one of the things we do is we show up and we
Sure.
provide a place for other people to show up. And
Well,
3
you
years
had
ag-
a perfect example of that this week here at
Oh yeah, absolutely. We've had a wonderful show, you know. But
Yeah.
I think it is really important to do that because 3 years ago we started doing that, and now we're in a very interesting and trying time.
Yeah.
And now knowing where the community is and how many more people we can go to for support is incredibly helpful.
No, that's great. And you're also, you're sponsored by different groups. Doesn't have to be a brand or anything specific, but it's great you're getting financial support by these other groups that are saying, yes, we support what you guys are doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's a time when we really need that kind of support to be visible. And
Yeah.
so we're so grateful to
Yes,
all of
it
our
means,
sponsors.
And it means so much more now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
And
it
we're
means-
always looking for new ones, so you can hit us
Yeah,
up.
so if somebody was looking to become a sponsor, how would they do that?
Well, you would just go to our website, which is... Now, let's be clear. Somebody came to our booth yesterday. We had a very long conversation trying to understand what we were getting at. They were looking for the NCQLP. Because he was like a defense contractor, and he wanted to know why we called him. And I'm like, I don't remember calling you, but I do some things, I'm not always fully there.
And-
Anyway,
Yeah, I have a feeling if he was doing business with us, that would get him fired. But
well, maybe at these
maybe.
trying times. But anyway, you can go on our website, which is nacliq.org, so NACLIQ.org, and you'll immediately be prompted to join our mailing list. And that's really how you can stay in touch with everything that's going on.
Right. So if you're not going to be a sponsor, you just sign up for the mailing list.
Yep,
You
and
get
then right on the page,
informed.
there's a sponsor tab, and you can say what level you'd like to be, starting with rainbow and going all the way up to platinum.
That's awesome. No, I think that's great. And so, this kind of resource really is kind of essential for us to be able to support the people that are underrepresented in our
Well,
communities.
we just had a great conversation with someone who talked about worth and self-worth and the inherent self-worth and how that shows up in other places, like having confidence, like being able to speak up,
Right.
like being able to show up in different ways. And I think when we acknowledge our humanity and who we actually are, we start to build that. And we need to do those things throughout our careers.
absolutely. Before I became my true self, before I figured out who the hell I was, I was not a confident person. And having the ability to live my truth and having a support system, especially within this industry, has given me so much. And it's almost like a superpower. It's kind of leveled off now.
We'll level it back
but-
up.
And what's your perspective of this industry? My perspective is that it's a pretty progressive and inclusive industry, but what's your perspective? Do you disagree with that?
There are different facets.
Sure.
It's divided both geographically and within the different sectors of the industry.
And age.
Yes, and age. So there are different intersections of all those things, where things are better and things are not so better.
Sure.
That being said, almost 20 years in, 19 years into my career, it looks different than it did when I
Right,
started.
yeah, for sure.
From a women
Absolutely.
in lighting standpoint, right? There's a lot more women in lighting now. From a people of color standpoint, we're starting to finally see some of the efforts of historically black colleges and universities, and look at Build, right? We're again starting to find a place where people can rally around and then bring more people in.
Do you mind telling a little bit about Build? Because
Sure. I mean, obviously, I'm not perfectly qualified to talk
sure.
about Build, because
No, we
Build
should
stands for
definitely-
Black United in Lighting and Design, or Black Uplifted. Sometimes I hear it different ways, but both of them I love. So whichever one it is, correct me out there, my Build friends. But it literally is a place for people of color to come together and say, how can we support each other, and have those conversations in a safe space that allows them to, again, build their confidence as a community and show up as their true selves, because we can do so much more when we do.
Absolutely. And so you had an ice cream social
Yes.
during this week here at LightFair, and you had a lot of these groups there
Yes.
representing.
I think that was the other point that I'd make about what the industry looks like now. We didn't have NACLIQ, we didn't have Build, we didn't have Light Justice, Equity in Lighting. I don't think we had either. Right. And the DEI committee on the IES, the ILD is also starting to build it up. What's happening with Wild? This is a lot of energy. We just had a group, ice cream advocacy social together, but we also put on a webinar called Why Diversity Matters, the business case for diversity. And as those collective organizations came together, we had over 470 people sign up.
Wow.
And almost 300 people show up.
That's incredible.
From an actual turnout.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody that puts on...
Was this recorded? Is
Yes,
this available
yes, and it
on
will be
demand?
available
That's
eventually.
awesome.
Yeah, we're getting it all sort of up and running. This was only a couple of weeks ago, and now we're at LightFair.
Yeah.
Is the IS not hosting a copy of it?
Well, the Business of Light's going to be hosting a copy
Business
of it,
of Light,
because it was a
okay.
collaboration between them, and our speakers were paid, which is again awesome. Paid speakers to talk about diversity,
That's awesome.
And anyway, it was just a really wonderful example of what happens when we come together, because our collective mailing list and our collective voice reached a huger audience, a huge audience.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, then that's exactly what happened with the Ice Cream Social.
Right.
We were 2 years ago. There was a wonderful advocacy social that came about because of the efforts of mostly the Light Justice folks.
Yes.
Right. That was Edward and Marielle and Leah that put that together initially, and it was a very awesome moment.
Yeah.
And so when we had LightFair coming around, the question was, are we doing it again? And for various reasons, everybody's got money problems and other things, but NACLIQ has an ice cream social at LightFair, and so we were very happy to be inclusive, invite everybody.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. This was a great chat about something. I mean, we didn't spend a whole lot talking about lighting controls, but I think it's pertinent. I think there are people who are passionate about lighting controls, like you, Alana. You and I are passionate lighting controls people.
Absolutely.
That are looking for these kinds of groups. So hopefully,
Absolutely. And obviously there's a combination of color in the spectrum and what we've been talking about NACLIQ and our rainbow of personalities. I think we can make the corollaries.
Absolutely.
Lighting is everywhere, and so are queer people. Thank you for giving us a chance to have a chat about what we do.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, lovely.
Thank you so much.